right. So we have some interesting news. Well, not even news. It's rumors, it's leaks, but everybody is taking it as news. So, Microsoft. Normally, Microsoft is known for Xbox and Sony is known for PlayStation. And what these rumors are throwing out there, it's making a lot of people lose their mind, of course, rightfully so. So, are the console wars officially dead? Is this going to be the news that all of these titles over here are coming over to the PlayStation? Is it real? Is it true? Well, there's nothing confirmed. There is nothing being 100% said by Microsoft or Sony. And in all honesty, it this kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, man, we've heard stuff like this before in the past, and it's there's always some truth to the rumors of things like this. So like Hi-Fi Rush, I could see that coming over to the PlayStation. We know Starfield had a PlayStation version of it in development before Phil Spencer came in and was like, "No, we're not going to put this out." They because ZeniMax got bought out, so basically Phil Spencer was like, "Okay, we're going to scrap the PlayStation version." Doesn't mean they don't still have the version made or that they kept on working and developing on it at Bethesda. And the Indiana Jones game, like you would just think you would want that on everything that you could possibly have it on, especially when it's a movie studio license rights that you're working with. You would, the movie studio, of course, is going to want that game on everything so it can make the most profit that it can off from the product. Now, Flight Sim is a very interesting one in this list of all these games. But before we jump into all that, so let me see here. So the again, this is a lot of Twitter information that's going on with all this stuff. So we'll see. Again, it's taken at a grain of salt, of course, as always, until there's any official word. But this is the gist of what's going on. Xbox games coming to PS5. These are rumors for now, but the list keeps piling up. Indiana Jones, Great Circle, Starfield, Doom Year Zero, which would be technically the third Doom in the lineup of Doom games since Doom 2016, I do believe is when that one came out. Yeah, Flight Sim. So Flight Sim, the way that Flight Sim works, it this, I don't know, Flight Sim being on this list makes me kind of like, well, how in the hell would that work? Because Flight Sim uses Azure AI, which is Microsoft's own in-house built AI cloud-based server system that they use. They take all the basically Bing maps and it's textures and overlays and it builds out the game world, or the virtual world, I should say. It's not, Microsoft Flight Sim, it's a simulator. It's not a game. It's literally trying to simulate the distance of a flight, and it's trying to simulate, the actual city for one to detail and everything. That's not to say that there isn't handmade objects in the map, but it is using satellite imagery, via Bing Maps and everything to make like a texture layout of what the virtual map needs to look like. So how would that work on PlayStation? So that's one of the games on here that I'm like, Now, anything like Grounded or Sea of Thieves, those can work no problem at all. Halo, we know, can work no problem at all. Halo's they're older games, so you should be able to program and load those up on the PlayStation no problem at all, because the Xbox One and the PS4 were similarly formatted. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you'd have to refinagle to make it work and operate properly. Now, it probably won't be optimized for the PlayStation. It'll be optimized for the Xbox hardware still. But again, everything should just be, be able to be ported over into a PlayStation version. Hellblade 2. So the first Hellblade was made. It was originally released on the PlayStation. Then the development studio got bought out by Microsoft. Hellblade 2 is being made with Xbox exclusivity in mind. And then now this list is saying Hellblade 2 could also end up on the PlayStation in the long run anyways. So again, the stuff that's in this list is definitely, some of it is head scratching. Yeah, it's to see all this. I mean, this lineup right here. Now, When it comes to, of course, PlayStation versus Xbox, we already know there's a whole fanboy console war stuff that goes on. It's been going on for over a decade, maybe even more at this point. What has it been? Almost 20 years of both of the Xbox. I mean, PlayStation is always the main one. First it was Nintendo, and now it's then it's Microsoft. PlayStation is always the one that's holding its own against every single company out there. Um, so to see, of course, the Xbox player base, losing their minds and everything, and being like, well, I just invested in this console, and now there's going to be absolutely no exclusivity, which there wasn't anyways to begin with, because everything that was been released on the Xbox has also been officially released on the PC, sometimes day one on Game Pass. So yeah, the reason to own an Xbox. There's a reason why the last Microsoft console that I have in possession is an Xbox One X. Um, I just didn't see a need to go the Xbox Series route because everything is literally on PC, and if you get a decent PC setup, you can do even more than the Xbox. I've been saying this for years now. I think it's probably going on 5, 6 years now, ever since the we started seeing rumors of a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series console. Um, so again, with all that being said, when you look at something like, okay, Starfield's coming over to PlayStation, that makes perfect sense because they were already working on it. Doom Year Zero coming over to PlayStation also, that makes sense because Doom, the last the last two Doom games have also been on the PlayStation. So the engine right there, that the id Soft engine, it's already set up to work on everything. Um, Again, it's more or less like flight sim, maybe Hi-Fi Rush, depending on what they have to do programming wise. In that they might have to do some finagling for the audio systems in the PlayStation, because you have Hi-Fi Rush is, it's about keeping on beat with the music and all that, and doing combos to the music. So if you have something that is very time precise like that, there might be something there, but again, they should just be able to port over anyways. So um once again, though, it's just reaffirming what I've been saying all along with this whole Xbox situation of, they keep losing money, and really they're not looking at making new games. Like, everybody keeps poking the bear of Microsoft, being like, do something, the meme of that, poking with the stick, being like, come on, give us an exclusive. And that's just not Microsoft's goal anymore. Microsoft's goal is to go in the way of a publisher and in the way of a subscription, which is the Game Pass, which is the reason why they just did away with Xbox Live not too long ago. And now you just subscribe to Game Pass and you get Xbox Live packaged in with that. It used to be the other way around. So again, you can see where their priorities are lying. It makes perfect sense because that's where their profits are. So of course, Microsoft is going to follow the money where people are spending the most cash. It's not on consoles, it's on a subscription. Um, which kind of raises the question also, how much is the cloud-based gaming going to end up affecting everything when it comes to Microsoft too, and or the Xbox brand, I should say, overall, when you don't have to buy a console, you can just cloud stream stuff and whatnot. So another one that's getting some insider information or whatever. I think this was from an interview though, so this is a little bit more, it's more on the side of being confirmed, but I don't think there's been anything hardcore set confirmed yet. But Phil Spencer said they lost money with every Xbox sold, and with subscriptions being flat, it's not a good growth model. So putting games on other platforms makes business sense. That Microsoft executives see it create large growth for the division, which is, there is some truth in that. Again, Genki is, it's a leaker rumor mill account, so not everything that they say is right on the money. But that, yes, like Phil Spencer was already saying in interview, I want to say it was 4 to 5 months ago, like, this year is make or break for Xbox. If they cannot start turning around a profit, then there is really no reason for them to be in the console game, and they just have not been doing it. It's been all software side. It's not hardware side on their profits. So if they can keep putting games onto Game Pass and selling that, they can start, and not sell consoles at a loss. They can actually start making money instead of just, basically giving burning money on a system. Every company, and this is not just a Microsoft thing, but every company that makes a console, whether it's a handheld or a full-on, Sony to Nintendo to a Steam Deck to, any one of these, and ROG Ally, every single one of these companies, whenever they make a device, a system, the hardware, they are losing money on it. They are recuperating costs by people buying software on that device. This is the reason why Meta has not brought back a major profit off from their Oculus, the VR headsets and all that, because not a ton of people are buying stuff in it. They're kind of just using the free apps, or they're cracking it and they're doing homebrew apps on it. So yeah, it's very interesting. Something to tie in with this too is this just dropped. Again, it's Game Rant, so who knows if there's any truth to it. Again, a lot of this Xbox stuff is just rumor leaker mill stuff, so you have to take it with the finest grain of salt. They might just be pushing this out there for clickbait. But Call of Duty may not be coming to Game Pass, leaker says. And again, this is like, if you hook, line, sinker believe this stuff, then you have no idea how the business works. Let's see here. Call of Duty may not be coming to Game Pass. A well-known Microsoft leaker. Previously, Ted, one of the biggest after the 68. Yeah. So here's the reason why I bring this up. Is because during the whole Activision Blizzard King buyouts that Microsoft just went through, they had a full-on leak happen. And funny enough, there was nothing in the leaks or in the reports and the leaks and the actual confirmed information that it was from Microsoft's databases themselves. There was nothing in it showing that Microsoft was going to be putting any of their titles on the PlayStation to begin with. And then there was also kind of nothing about Call of Duty not coming to Game Pass. There was more confirmation that Call of Duty would be coming to Game Pass because of all the courtroom hearings and everything. So again, this is where it's like, we kind of already know that Microsoft at least has a system in R&D. That doesn't mean it's going to be made, but they've been R&D, research and developing a system to possibly put out over this next 2 years or so. And that's roughly where the console, like the PS5 and whatever the next Xbox is, or this current Xbox, whatever the next PlayStation, next Xbox, when the timing on that is possibly like another year or two. If not, we might see like a pro unit of the PS5. And again, the pro unit of the PS5, even that is not confirmed by any means necessary. That is all just rumor mill stuff that we would even see a pro version. In my gut feeling of the whole thing is, and this is the reason why you want to really pay attention to AMD stuff, because that's what is driving the consoles is AMD parts. If they can come up with something like FSR3 that can run possibly an AI, or not even AI, a ray tracing, sorry, like a ray tracing, path tracing, lights, sourcing type of situation on the AMD chipsets that can keep up with NVIDIA, then that would warrant a new console or a new version of a console at least. So far, we have not seen that as much, though. And that's where it's just like, man, this is a lot of rumor stuff. And again, like normally I don't make a video on all the rumor stuff and everything, but this one was one of those like, wait a second, you're trying to tell me that this lineup is coming to PlayStation? I mean, again, some of these games make sense. Starfield, possibly Sea of Thieves, because Sea of Thieves is not hard to run. You can kind of run it on like a mid-range PC. So if they just patch the PlayStation in on the already online service, because that's Sea of Thieves is an always online game, you could make that possibly work. Starfield we know can work. Hi-Fi Rush could, I mean, if you finagle it a little bit with the audio setup on there, that should be able to work. Indiana Jones, I don't see why it's not on every single system, like confirmed already. Um, Doom, we know can work because it's already, the first two games are already on everything. And then Flight Sim, man. So Flight Sim, the other thing too about Flight Sim is it's a graphics hog. And this is something that's so, we're what going into the fourth year of these current gen systems, and we know that the PlayStation 5 has more power put in put into performance. The PlayStation 5 has more power than the Xbox does. On paper, Xbox should have more performance, but for whatever reason, whatever the setup on the Xbox is, it just does not perform the frame rates that the PlayStation 5 does. Now, that being said, Flight Sim, if you try and run that game on a mid-range PC, the game will just die. It's been optimized a lot more now, but it's still it'll definitely chug a lot if you're trying to run it on like a mid-range PC, which technically, if you're looking at like a 40 series graphics card with an Intel processor, the most up-to-date stuff that you could possibly run with DLSS on and all that stuff, you are kind of starting to look at mid-range PCs for these current consoles, even though, and here is where the balancing part of all this current gen technology is, the game engines can only run so much. Now, Flight Sim is kind of an outlier in that, because majority of everything like Starfield could probably run actually smoother on the PlayStation, because it's just got the the way that the data transfers to the PlayStation, it just runs smoother than the Xbox. The coding of it, whatever it is, they figured it out over at Sony Camp. We've seen this time and time and time again, tested and proven with not only Digital Foundry, but every other tech channel that there is out there. So again, Flight Sim would be it'd be a very interesting one to see exactly what technique they would use to try and get that running smooth. I haven't actually looked into how Flight Sim runs on Xbox, but I would think that the loadings, like the cycle of loading that you have to go through to make sure all the textures are working, and the map, creates itself on the fly as you're flying. Something tells me that it might actually run smoother on the PlayStation if they can get it to run with the way the PlayStation is set up in the programming and the coding and everything. That'd be a very interesting one, because Flight Sim, of everything on this list, Flight Sim is the one that is the most like Xbox exclusive. That is the most like Microsoft Xbox Studio title that is on this list. There is one other one though, Hellblade 2, and again, I don't know the pipeline on how they were working on Hellblade 2, but if Hellblade 2 was made specifically for the Xbox architecture and the way that the Xbox is set up, again, could that, I mean, we know it would hold back the PC version of the game. Would it hold back a PS5 version? All things would suggest yes, but then again, who knows, put into practice. And this is the reason why, you have to wait for everyone kind of to test the game out, because who knows, it might not work as well on the PlayStation just because it's made for another set of hardware. All these boxes are custom hardware, except for if you run a PC, then PC is stock market hardware. So it's again, very interesting seeing the list of games being put out here. Now, Halo, that's just, I know for the fans alone, that's just sacrilege. You can't have Halo on anything but the Xbox, even though Halo's already been on the PC for years now. So technically, it's not even, even Halo's not an Xbox exclusive. It's on an Xbox app, but that's still running on your PC. So even the PlayStation stuff too. If to play devil's advocate with both of these, PlayStation has a lot of their titles that are not exclusive on the PlayStation either on the PC. This is the thing with the industry is getting so expensive to make games in. You need your game on every single platform that you can possibly make a buck off from, and just milk the hell out of that one project, because yeah, it's tens of millions of dollars and years of development going into these things. It's sooner or later it was going to happen. Just like going digital with everything is cost efficient, the same way as putting the game on as many boxes and on the PC and everything as possible. And I think the one thing that we can all agree, whether you're an Xbox or a PlayStation fan with all this stuff, if it goes to PC, that's actually the best platform that your game could end up landing on for both consumer and, everything, is the PC. Because then if you want to mod anything, there's a whole modding community usually behind everything if the game engine is easy to work with. Stuff like Unreal Engine, which some of these games are made on, you can do that. And Starfield, it's like that's a great example of modding, because what does Starfield have? The Bethesda modding community, which they've been modding games ridiculously, religiously for years. So yeah, it's again, it's a very interesting time. I mean, I remember when the console wars were raging for a good solid 20 some odd years, and now everybody's kind of on the same playing field. And the reason why everybody's on the same playing field is because we're starting to kind of max out, the fidelity and the quality of all these game engines and just what they can do. So we're kind of plateauing at just like, okay, we've hit the 4K mark, we've hit the 60 to 120 FPS mark. Ray tracing is there, sure. I mean, if anything, we could maybe just see one more console, and we don't need another console. All we need is software updates, because we would be maxing out the amount of just fidelity that our eyes can see to begin with. So then it would just be building bigger and bigger worlds and adding more storage and doing all that, more RAM and system resources in there to be able to do huge stuff that is like cities and everything, outer space travel and all that stuff. That's where we're at. We've finally peaked. So that's the reason why this sort of makes sense. It's not fully bullshit, but it's at the same time, it's like, man, are they really going to pull the trigger? And finally, Xbox just becomes kind of what Sega is now. If you remember, Sega used to make a Genesis. That was a console. They are just a publisher now. Same thing with Atari. They are just a publisher now. Sony somehow, over all these years, has not only kept being a publisher, but is also the biggest hardware sales thing out there. And the reason why is because they keep innovating. The controller, I cannot bring this controller up more. It's the dual sense, the touchpad on it, the speaker in it. Even though I don't really care for the speaker, it's there. It's an extra feature. This thing does so much that every other controller does not do, but it's just those little things like that, the VR system and everything. And again, that's why everybody else is just running after Sony, trying to catch the coattails of them. And they just, they keep going the way of what Xbox is going through right now. We need to sell more, and there's just bigger stuff. All we're getting is just, day one downloads on Game Pass on PC and whatnot. Again, it's just Microsoft kind of made their bed, and now they're laying in it. So yeah, interesting stuff seeing this. We'll see what ends up happening going forward. If any of this is actually true, I would suspect we'll be seeing it probably around the Summer Games Fest time, whenever Jeff gets that all set up and ready to go. And then we'll probably end up, we'll get some rumors, or actually not even some rumors, some trailers, some teaser trailers. There we go. And possibly, I would say maybe around Summer Games time is when we might end up hearing a little bit of, a teaser, if there is something of new hardware out there for a PlayStation Pro or PlayStation 5, PS6, whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's probably going to be in a few months from now. So subscribe to the channel to keep up with all that stuff. I will be making the videos when the information officially comes out and officially gets announced, because I don't like dealing too much with rumor stuff. I made an exception with this one because I can actually see where some of this might actually come true, because it just makes sense that it could come true because the game engines work that way. But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, again, subscribe to the channel. Almost at 500 subs. That's pretty cool. Stick around for all that and more. And yeah, we'll keep pushing out videos after videos. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see you next time.